Here we are, guys, with Ottoman absolutism. In the 1400s, just before the age of absolutism in Europe, we get the Safavids in Iran, the Mughals in India, and the Ottomans in Turkey and the Middle East. And of these three great gunpowder empires, the Ottomans were clearly the most powerful of the three. Their power will be vast. It will remain up until the end of World War I. So a very long 600-year empire. But they are most known for their two main sultans, Mehmet or Mehed II and Sulieman the Magnificent. Mehmet is known as the Conqueror. He'll reign for a quick 40 years. And he was able to break the power of the old Seljuk tribal chiefs. And he was able to replace these tribal chieftains with his own loyal servants, guys who were devoted and would listen to him. And he is most noted for capturing the Byzantine stronghold of Constantinople. After 800 years of knocking on the door, the Muslims finally captured Constantinople in 1453. Quickly, Mehmet renames the city Istanbul. That's Emily's favorite joke there. And now the Ottomans have access to southeastern Europe, going up all the way to the border of Hungary and into the Ukraine. And this gives them the ability to trade with the Italian trading states like Bari, like Venice and Naples, extending that Silk Road. So while they're economically powerful, Mehed II wants to centralize his power. So he creates something known as the Kunami, or the law book. And it was a set of laws that Mehed hoped would be governed by the Sharia. And when he writes the law book, it places the religious ulama under his control. Remember, just like Peter the Great, he wants to control the church. When you win the hearts and the minds of the people, there, General Petraeus, they will begin to understand and accept you. So Mehed is going to control the ulama. That means the giant madrasas, the tiny village schools, the mosques, the imams are all going to give his interpretation of what the Quran is. And he will set the foundation and will eventually give way to Sulieman the Magnificent. And Sulieman not only inherits a powerful empire, but he is able to extend and spread his large territory, making the Ottomans not only a major Asian, but a European empire as well, as he gets up there into the Ukraine. And at this time, in the 1500s, the Ottoman military power is probably the best in the world. They are second to none at this time. And a big similarity here between Sulieman and Peter the Great is Sulieman kind of does the Ottoman version of Peter's table of ranks, where he organizes the Ottoman state under a vast military ranking system, meaning your rank and privileges in society were commensurate with your military rank: general, colonel, major, captain, first lieutenant, second lieutenant. However, the higher your rank, the discipline was stricter. With more responsibility comes more discipline. You were a role model. You were put there and you are expected to know better. So with great privilege, it's the Spider-Man philosophy, comes great responsibility. Much like everyone else, Sulieman has a very small functional bureaucracy, 4 or 5 ministers, guys that he can meet with every day. The palace and the court was one. Sulieman ran everything from his palace. So his court were his advisors and his ministers, the court where he lived, so he needed chief of staff to make sure all that functioned well. Then he had an administrative branch, guys that were going to listen to him and carry out his laws. Last was the military, of which he was in charge. He had a head general, but he led it in battle and was in charge. And last but not least was religion. how to control the mosques and the madrasas, to make sure everything was being done by Sharia law. Sulieman decided to dominate the religion and make them the imams, the ulama, servants of his government. They had to listen to his religious authority. And so just like Mehmet, everything from the tiny village school to the giant madrasas, did what he said. They got his version of what the Sharia said. And with the ulama working for him, the Ottomans became committed to having a perfect Islamic state. And Sulieman may sound oppressive, but what he said is that my laws are a gift to the people. Why be reactive? Why wait until we think something's a problem? Let's spell out this is good, this is bad, and this is your punishment. So what we are doing is preventative and functional rather than reacting to things and doing it after the fact. And preventing problems in a large, diverse empire is one of the things that allowed the Ottomans to exist and run for over 600 years. Now, here's a big difference between the Ottomans and everybody else. We know that Louis XIV and Peter the Great and even Akbar and Philip II were so busy running their empire, they never trained a successor. Well, the Ottomans are different. The sons of the emperor were taken out when they were teenagers and taught how to govern and make decisions for a small village. As they got a little older, they would move to mid-sized towns and have more people to look out for, more decisions, more responsibility. And finally, they were sent to large cities to gain necessary leadership experience. Now, when the Sultan or Emperor was close to death or dying, since it was Allah who got to choose the next emperor, as the Ottoman Empire was run as a theocracy, the Hunger Games broke out. The Ottoman heirs had to practice fratricide, brother killing brother. You had to outwit, outlast, and outplay your brothers, and the last brother standing got to be the new sultan. Kind of sick, but it worked for them. And so the Ottomans were determined to maintain a very powerful, large, and loyal army. And the Ottomans would go around and forcibly conscript a certain number of boys from each village. The Ottomans would target young Christian boys from peasant families to reduce their numbers and hoped eventually that Christianity would be ripped from their empire. And these young boys would be raised as Muslims, as servants specifically trained to serve the Sultan, either as a soldier or as a loyal governor. Since they were fed and clothed and trained and treated very well by the Sultan, but they practiced militarily very hard, they were fanatically loyal. Especially a group known as the Janissaries, who wore special outfits, and when you saw the Janissaries, you knew you were in trouble. They were the special forces soldiers of their day. Unfortunately, just like we have seen, Sulieman's son and his descendants were too busy living large. They didn't keep an eye on the empire, and little by little, in the outlying territories, in the vast, massive empire of the Ottomans, it became plagued with corruption. There were also several massive agricultural failures. And while this was happening, Europe began to industrialize, and at the origin, the Ottomans were much more powerful. Well, Europe is going to leap ahead due to industrial technology, and slowly but surely, the Ottoman Empire will lose out and collapse. It'll stick around till 1918, but slowly but surely it loses territory to Europe. But during its height, this multi-ethnic, multi-religious Ottoman Empire was more powerful or equal to any of the monarchs during its day. Up next, guys, we're going to go to Japan, but I'll save that one for tomorrow.